First contact's failure. High Ambassador Vera of the Xerix Confederation stood at the observation deck of the flagship Celestial Dawn, her iridescent scales shifting colors with barely contained frustration. The massive vessel, along with 50 others in the contact fleet, had been orbiting Earth for 3 standard cycles, and yet their presence had garnered about as much attention as a passing cloud. Another transmission failed to elicit response. High Ambassador reported First Communications Officer Zirin, his neural tendrils drooping. They received it. Our quantum sensors confirm they have the capability to decode our messages. But there's been no acknowledgement. Vera's inner eyelids flickered in irritation. In her 3 centuries of diplomatic service, she had overseen first contact with 27 civilizations. Some had responded with fear, others with hostility, and a few with immediate enthusiasm. But this complete indifference was unprecedented. "Show me their current planetary communications," she commanded. The holographic display materialized, showing thousands of data streams from Earth's networks. Humans continued their daily digital discourse about entertainment, politics, and something called viral cat videos. Occasionally, there were mentions of weird lights in the sky, but these were buried under discussions about the latest consumer technology releases and social media trends. They're discussing something called quantum fold computing on their scientific networks, Zirin noted. Primitive attempts at dimensional manipulation, but they're centuries away from. He stopped mid-sentence, his eyes widening at a new data stream. "What is it?" Vera demanded. A human vessel just appeared at the edge of the Proxima Centauri system. No conventional drive signature, no quantum wake, nothing. It's as if it simply materialized. Vera rushed to the tactical display. The human ship was unlike anything in their database, a sleek, almost organic design that seemed to bend the light around it. As they watched, it began what appeared to be a mining operation, casually extracting stellar material from Proxima Centauri's corona using technology that should have been impossible for their level of development. "Magnify that section," Vera ordered, pointing to what appeared to be the vessel's designation. The image enhanced, revealing simple text: MC Solar Industries, Routine Collection Run number 247. Routine. The word hit Vera like a gravitational shock. This wasn't a pioneering mission or a technological breakthrough. This was routine. High Ambassador called out Second Officer Krell from his station. "I'm detecting similar vessels in the Sirius system, the Pleiades cluster, and inside the accretion disk of the galactic core itself." Vera's scales shifted to a deep blue of confusion. The humans were supposed to be a developing civilization, barely able to reach their own moon. That's what all their public broadcasts suggested. That's what their visible infrastructure indicated. And yet, "Launch the display," she commanded. It was their most impressive first contact protocol, a massive energy exhibition that would turn the entire sky into a symphony of light and color, visible from every point on Earth's surface. It had never failed to gain a civilization's attention. The fleet positioned itself, and on Vera's signal, unleashed a spectacular aurora that danced across Earth's atmosphere. Quantum lights painted stories of galactic peace and unity, while gravitational harmonics created music that should have stirred any sentient soul. On Earth, a few people took photos for their social media accounts. A weather station issued a brief statement about unusual atmospheric phenomena. A group of children pointed excitedly before returning to their playground games. "High Ambassador." Zirin's voice was quiet. A transmission was just intercepted. "It appears to be from a human entertainment channel." The holographic display showed 2 humans in casual attire, speaking to a camera. And in other news, some unusual lights in the sky have provided a nice backdrop for tonight's outdoor concert in the park. Don't forget your picnic baskets, folks. And now, the sports update. Vera's scales had shifted to white, the color of total bafflement. She was about to order another attempt when a small note materialized on her console. Not transmitted, not delivered by anyone. It simply appeared. Dear Xerex Confederation, we appreciate your enthusiastic attempts at contact. Your light show was particularly pretty. The kids enjoyed it. However, we're quite busy with some fundamental research into the nature of reality at the moment. Perhaps we could schedule a proper introduction in a few decades, once we've finished our current projects. Best regards, Humanity. P.S. Your quantum encryption could use some work. We suggest exploring 11-dimensional matrices instead of just 4. Vera read the note 3 times before looking up at her crew, her scales now shifting through every known color in their spectrum. Send word to the Confederation Council, she said finally. Tell them we need to seriously reconsider our definition of an advanced civilization. As the message was sent, Earth continued its daily routine below them, its inhabitants casually going about their business while their ships quietly reshaped the galaxy around them. Somewhere, in what the Confederation had thought was empty space, humanity was conducting experiments that would redefine the very nature of existence, and they hadn't even bothered to mention it to anyone else. The Xerex Confederation's most advanced ships hung in orbit, their crews slowly realizing that they weren't the harbingers of advanced civilization they'd thought they were. They were more like children showing off their crayon drawings to master artists who were too polite to say anything but "that's nice." And Earth kept turning. Its people kept living, and somewhere in the vast expanse of space, human ships continued their routine work of casually manipulating the fundamental forces of the universe. Silent observers. Science Director Merrickx hunched over the quantum displays aboard the research vessel Eternal Curiosity, her crystalline appendages twitching as she analyzed the data for the 100th time. The Xerex Confederation's finest research ship had been discreetly monitoring Earth for the past month, trying to understand how they had so drastically misinterpreted humanity's technological level. Director called out research analyst Jix, his crystalline form glowing with excitement. You need to see this historical archive we just decoded. The display shifted to show what appeared to be human historical records from 3 centuries ago. It was a simple text log from an orbital facility they called the International Space Station. But what caught Merrick's attention wasn't the primitive technology being discussed. It was the casual mention in the background of routine quantum corridor maintenance and dimensional stability checks. This can't be right, Merrickx whispered. 300 years ago, they were supposedly just reaching their moon. And yet, there's more, Jix continued. We've been analyzing their entertainment media, what they call science fiction. We thought they were imagining fantastic technologies, but look at the publication dates and compare them to our actual technological development. The correlation was impossible to ignore. Humans had been writing about technologies as fiction centuries before other civilizations had developed them. They hadn't been imagining these technologies. They had been deliberately obscuring their existence. Director. The urgent call came from Sensor Specialist Fora. A human vessel just appeared off our port side. They're hailing us. Merrickx straightened her crystalline form, trying to project confidence she didn't feel. On screen, the image that appeared was surprisingly mundane. A human female in what appeared to be casual clothing, sitting in what looked like a comfortable living room. She was drinking something from a mug that said, "World's okayest mom." "Hello, Eternal Curiosity," the human said cheerfully. "I'm Dr. Sarah Chen, Department of Sinological Research. We noticed you've been going through our old records, finding anything interesting." Merrickx's crystalline structure flickered in surprise. You knew we were here." "Oh, of course," Dr. Chen replied, taking another sip from her mug. "We know about all research vessels in this sector. Usually, we let everyone conduct their observations in peace. It's good for developing civilizations to learn and grow at their own pace. But since you've already found some of our historical records, we thought it might be time for a chat." Developing civilizations. Merrickx's voice carried a hint of indignation. The Xerex Confederation is one of the most advanced. By apparent technological standards, yes. Dr. Chen interrupted gently. You're doing quite well with quantum mechanics and gravitational manipulation. But there's so much more to existence than that. Would you like to see? Before Merrick's could respond, her ship's sensors exploded with data. Layers upon layers of reality became visible. Dimensions folded within dimensions, time flowing in multiple directions simultaneously, and streams of pure information weaving through the fabric of space itself. This is how we see the universe, Dr. Chen explained, still casually sipping her drink. What you call advanced technology, we consider interesting history. Those quantum corridors you found in our old space station logs, that was our equivalent of learning to walk. Now well, perhaps it's better if I show you. The human ship beside them seemed to blur, not vanishing but somehow existing in multiple states simultaneously. Through the new sensor data, Merrick's could see it was connected to thousands of other points in space and time, maintaining what appeared to be a vast network of something her sensors couldn't even categorize. We maintain the stability of this galaxy's spacetime, Dr. Chen continued. Those routine solar collection runs you observed, we're preventing several stars from premature collapse. The ships you detected in the galactic core are part of a project to guide the natural evolution of reality itself. We find it easier to do this work quietly. Too much attention tends to complicate things. Merrick's is crystalline form, pulsed with questions. But why hide? Why pretend to be a developing civilization? Dr. Chen smiled warmly. Have you ever tried to have a relaxing dinner while someone stands over your shoulder, watching in awe as you eat? It's awkward for everyone involved. We find it's better to let other civilizations develop naturally, without the pressure of knowing what they might eventually become. Though, she added with a slight smirk, we do occasionally leave hints in our science fiction. A small data packet appeared in the Eternal Curiosity's systems, not transmitted, simply there, as if it had always been part of their computer. Here's a primer on basic 11-dimensional physics, Dr. Chen said. Consider it a welcome gift. But please, take your time with it. The last civilization we shared this with tried to rush their development and accidentally turned their sun into a pretzel. Temporally speaking, it was quite messy to clean up. As Dr. Chen's image began to fade, she added one final comment. Oh, and don't worry about your stealth systems. They're quite good, really. It's just that trying to hide from us is like trying to hide from your own shadow. We're kind of everywhere and everyone at once. Drop by again when you've had time to digest that physics package. My door's always open. In this timeline, and most of the others. The human ship shifted and was simply elsewhere, leaving the Eternal Curiosity's crew to grapple with what they'd learned. Merrick stared at the data packet, her crystalline form shimmering with a mix of excitement and humility. Begin analysis of the data, she ordered, then added quietly. And someone please check if our sun is the correct shape. Just to be sure. The incident at Proxima. Alarm klaxons blared throughout the Xerex research station orbiting Proxima Centauri. Emergency lights cast crimson shadows across the crystalline faces of the crew as they rushed to contain what their sensors told them was impossible. The star was aging centuries in minutes. Status report. Commander Lix demanded, his crystalline form pulsing with emergency patterns. The quantum degradation is accelerating. Senior researcher Nera reported, her appendages flying over the control surfaces. Something's wrong with the temporal field around the star. It's as if time itself is unraveling. They had been conducting what should have been a routine experiment with their most advanced quantum technology, attempting to harvest energy directly from the star's core. Instead, they had apparently torn a hole in the fabric of spacetime itself. Send the distress signal to the Confederation, Lix ordered, knowing even as he spoke that help would arrive far too late. At their fastest speed, the nearest Xerex ships were 3 days away. The star would collapse in hours, taking the research station, 3 colonies, and billions of lives with it. Sir, Nara's voice was quiet. What about them? Lix knew exactly who she meant. After the revelations of the past few months about humanity's true capabilities, many had suggested establishing formal diplomatic relations. Pride had prevented the Confederation from admitting they needed help. Now, pride might cost them everything. Before Lix could respond, a gentle chime sounded throughout the station. Not an alarm. It sounded more like someone ringing a doorbell. "Hello, Proxima Research Station," a calm voice echoed through their communications system. "This is Dr. Marcus Wong from Human Temporal Maintenance. We noticed you're having a bit of a situation with your local spacetime. Mind if we pop in?" The sensor displays lit up as 3 human vessels materialized around the station. They were unlike the previous human ships they'd encountered. These were clearly built for function rather than stealth, their hulls covered in what appeared to be temporal stabilization arrays. Yes, please help," Lix managed to say, his crystalline form cycling through emergency colors. A human figure appeared on their bridge, not through any visible teleportation technology, but as if he had always been there, and they had just noticed him. Dr. Wong was a middle-aged human male wearing what appeared to be casual work clothes with a patch that read "Spacetime Maintenance," because reality won't fix itself. "Let's see what we've got here," he said, pulling out what looked like an ordinary tablet computer. Classic mistake. You tried to quantum tap the core without accounting for temporal backflow. Happens to everyone their first time. Well, not everyone. Some civilizations manage to wipe themselves out before they can learn from it. He tapped a few commands into his tablet. Outside the station, the 3 human ships moved into a triangular formation around the star. Streams of what looked like liquid light began flowing between them. "Fortunately," Dr. Wong continued, "we've got protocols for this sort of thing. We maintain temporal stabilization fields throughout this sector, specifically because it's a common area for developing civilizations to experiment with quantum mechanics. Think of it as installing safety nets under a playground." The star's erratic behavior began to stabilize. On their sensors, Lix and his crew watched in awe, as the temporal distortions were not just contained but reversed, the fabric of spacetime knitting itself back together. "There we go," Dr. Wong said cheerfully. "Star's back to its proper age, timeline stabilized, and we've added a few safety measures to prevent this particular type of accident from happening again. Though I should mention," he looked up from his tablet with a raised eyebrow, "this is the 3rd time we've had to fix this star this week. Different timelines, you see. Might want to send a memo about being more careful with quantum experiments." Lix's crystalline structure pulsed with embarrassment. We didn't know it was so dangerous. Our theories suggested." "Oh, your theories are quite good," Dr. Wong interrupted kindly. "They're just incomplete. You're looking at quantum mechanics in 4 dimensions when reality actually operates in 11. Here." A data packet appeared in their systems, similar to the one Dr. Chen had shared but more focused. "This is a practical guide to temporal safety protocols. Consider it mandatory reading before your next experiment." One of Lix's junior officers spoke up. "But how do you manage all this? The amount of power required to stabilize a star's temporal field would be enormous." Dr. Wong smiled. "It would be, if we were using conventional physics. But once you understand how to work with reality rather than against it, it's more like, well, imagine trying to move a boulder. You could build a massive machine to lift it, or you could find the right spot to place a small lever. We just found better levers." He checked his tablet one more time. "Everything looks stable now. Do try to be more careful with your quantum experiments. We don't mind helping out, but we got a whole galaxy to monitor, and paperwork is paperwork, even across multiple dimensions." As Dr. Wong began to fade away, Lix called out, "Wait. How can we repay you for this?" The human smile remained as his form became translucent. "Just pay it forward. In about 3 centuries, you'll be the ones helping younger civilizations avoid their own mistakes. That's how it usually works out, in this timeline, anyway." The human ships disappeared as quietly as they had arrived, leaving the Xerx crew to contemplate both how close they had come to disaster and how casually it had been averted. On his main display, Lick stared at the temporal safety protocols, noting with a mix of humility and amusement that they were written in a style similar to children's safety instructions. "Send a message to the Confederation Council," he ordered. Tell them we need to seriously reconsider our approach to scientific research, and maybe add some warning labels to our quantum laboratories." Behind the curtain, the Xerx Confederation's Grand Council chamber had never hosted a human before. Now, as Ambassador Maya Rodriguez sat casually in their most sacred hall, the crystalline forms of the council members reflected a rainbow of emotional colors. She wasn't dressed in formal diplomatic attire, just simple dark pants and a sweater with a small logo that read Department of Multiversal Affairs, because someone has to keep track. The contrast between her casual appearance and the ornate chamber seemed to emphasize just how differently humans approach their role in the galaxy. "Let me make sure I understand correctly," High Counselor Vex began, his crystalline form shifting between shades of confusion. "Humanity has been maintaining the stability of the galaxy for over 500 years. "Oh, longer than that," Maya replied, sipping from a coffee mug that had materialized in her hand. "Though maintaining stability is a bit dramatic, we prefer to think of it as basic infrastructure maintenance. You know, keeping space-time from developing too many paradoxes, preventing dimensional bleed, making sure causality remains mostly linear. That sort of thing." "But why?" another council member demanded. "Why hide your true capabilities? Why let other civilizations struggle with technologies you mastered centuries ago?" Maya's expression turned thoughtful. "Have you ever watched a child learn to walk? You could carry them everywhere, but they need to develop those skills themselves. The same principle applies to civilizations. Direct intervention usually causes more problems than it solves." She gestured, and a holographic display appeared in the center of the chamber. It showed thousands of points of light, civilizations at various stages of development, connected by webs of probability and causation. "Every civilization follows its own path," she continued. "Some focus on biological enhancement, others on mechanical augmentation. Some expand outward, others inward. The diversity is not just beautiful, it's essential. The universe needs different perspectives, different approaches. If we showed everyone our way of doing things, they'd try to copy us instead of finding their own path." The display zoomed in on the Xerx Confederation's worlds. "Look at your own civilization. You developed incredible crystalline technology, found ways to encode consciousness in lattices of light. We never would have thought of that. Your approach to quantum mechanics, while dangerous at times, has shown us possibilities we hadn't considered. You learn from us." The question came from a younger council member, their form pulsing with surprise. Maya laughed. "We learn from everyone. That's one of humanity's core traits, insatiable curiosity. We're not gods or supreme beings. We're just further along in some areas. But every civilization has something to teach, something unique to contribute." The display shifted again, showing Earth. To the Council's surprise, it looked remarkably ordinary. Cities, traffic, people going about their daily lives. "This is why we maintain the appearance of a developing civilization," Maya explained. "Our scientists and engineers work on fundamental forces of reality. Yes, but most humans just want to live their lives, raise their families, binge-watch their favorite shows. By keeping our advanced technology low-key, we allow our own civilization to develop naturally too." "But the threats," Vex interjected. "The temporal instabilities, the dimensional anomalies. How do you manage it all while maintaining this facade?" Maya's tablet appeared in her hand, though none of the council members saw her reach for it. "We have systems in place. Automated temporal stabilizers, dimensional dampeners, quantum field regulators. Think of them as cosmic safety rails. They prevent the most catastrophic accidents while letting civilizations experiment and learn. When direct intervention is needed, like at Proxima, we handle it quietly." She stood, And for a moment, the council caught a glimpse of something more, layers of reality folding around her, timelines branching and reconnecting, the subtle manipulation of forces they barely understood. The Xerix Confederation is approaching a threshold, she said. You're beginning to grasp the deeper principles of reality. Soon, you'll take your first steps into true multidimensional engineering. We're not here to guide you or tell you how to develop. We're here because good neighbors introduce themselves before lending sugar or helping fix temporal paradoxes. And if we need help, Vex asked. You already know how to reach us. Maya smiled. We've always been here, just a thought away. Though I should mention, she added with a twinkle in her eye, if you could avoid creating any more temporal knots around Proxima, our maintenance department would really appreciate it. Their overtime budget is getting a bit stretched. As Maya prepared to leave, she paused. Oh, and one more thing. In about 2 weeks, you're going to discover what you think is a huge breakthrough in quantum tunneling. Before you test it, please read page 47 of the safety protocols we sent. Trust me, you really don't want to accidentally turn your son into a quantum pretzel. The paperwork alone would be a nightmare. She vanished, not with any visible technology, but simply by seeming to step sideways out of reality itself. The council chamber was silent for a long moment before Vex spoke. Send word to all our research facilities, he ordered. Tell them to review those safety protocols. All of them. Especially page 47. A new understanding. 1 year after the revelations that had shaken the Xerix Confederation's understanding of their place in the galaxy, High Ambassador Vera found herself in an unusual location. A small coffee shop in Seattle, Earth. Her crystalline form, now modified to appear as a tall human woman, drew no attention from the other patrons. Dr. Sarah Chen sat across from her, enjoying what she called a pumpkin spice latte. The casual setting seemed at odds with the gravity of their discussion. So, Sarah said, how is the Confederation adapting to the new reality? Vera's holographic human features showed a slight smile. It's been challenging. Some still struggle with the idea that we weren't as advanced as we thought. Others are excited about the new possibilities. Our scientists have been poring over those safety protocols you provided, when they're not arguing about the implications of 11-dimensional physics. And you? Sarah asked. How are you handling it? I keep thinking about all those first contact missions I led, Vera admitted. All those times I thought I was bringing advanced civilization to developing worlds. Now I wonder, were you watching all along? Were there others like you, just letting us play at being the advanced ones? Sarah's expression softened. There are always bigger fish in the cosmic sea, Vera. But that doesn't make your achievements any less meaningful. Every civilization contributes to the grand tapestry of existence in its own way. The coffee shop's window offered a view of the Space Needle, its familiar shape stretching toward the clouds. Humans walked past, engaged in their daily lives, seemingly oblivious to the fact that their species quietly shepherded the development of the galaxy. What I still don't understand, Vera said, is how you maintain this duality. Your people casually manipulate the fundamental forces of reality. Yet I've watched them get excited about simple things like new phone releases or social media trends. Sarah laughed. That's the secret, really. We never lost our capacity for wonder. Yes, we can fold space and time, but have you tried these lats? They're amazing. Advanced technology doesn't make life's simple pleasures any less enjoyable. A notification chimed on Sarah's tablet. Speaking of which, one of your research stations is about to attempt their first controlled dimensional fold. Want to watch? The air between them shimmed, and suddenly they were observing a Xerix facility millions of light years away. Vera recognized her old friend Merrick's supervising the experiment. They'd done their homework, Sarah noted approvingly. See how they've set up the dimensional buffers. They actually improved on our safety protocols in a few areas. The experiment proceeded, and Vera watched with pride as her people successfully created their first stable dimensional pocket, small and primitive by human standards, but a major achievement for the Confederation. They did it, Vera whispered. Of course they did, Sarah replied. That's how it works. Every civilization finds its own path, makes its own discoveries. Sometimes they need a little help avoiding the bigger mistakes, but the achievements are all their own. The scene shifted back to the coffee shop. Outside, the sun was setting, casting a warm glow over the city. Do you know what humans were doing when they first achieved dimensional folding? Sarah asked, finishing her latte. Celebrating their technological breakthrough. Vera guessed. Playing video games, Sarah grinned. The first stable dimensional fold was created by a teenager trying to figure out how to store more games on her phone. She accidentally discovered a way to use pocket dimensions as storage space. That's another secret of humanity's success. We never let our advancement stop us from being wonderfully, ridiculously human. A soft alert sounded from Sarah's tablet. Ah, looks like I'm needed. Some civilization in the Andromeda Galaxy just discovered quantum tunneling. Want to come along? It's always fun watching their faces when they realize they've accidentally connected their bathroom to their parliament building. Vera considered the offer, then nodded. I'd like that. Maybe I can help explain things from the perspective of someone who's recently been through the transition. Now you're getting it, Sarah smiled. As they prepared to leave, she added, oh, and don't forget to try a croissant before we go. I know we can manipulate the fabric of reality, but Earth's bakeries, that's real magic. As they stepped sideways out of normal space, Vera reflected on how much had changed. The Xerix Confederation had lost its illusion of being one of the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy, but they had gained something far more valuable: understanding. Not just of advanced physics and dimensional mechanics, but of how to grow, how to learn, and most importantly, how to maintain their sense of wonder in an infinite universe. And somewhere in the vast expanse of space, a teenager was probably inventing something revolutionary while trying to solve an utterly mundane problem, continuing humanity's proud tradition of stumbling into cosmic significance while just trying to make their daily lives a little bit better.